Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the UKCS Hub. It's the final match of the night here on my channel. And it's Electrify versus Team Penguin Overlords. I know, the name in itself is crazy to me too. But let's not get too hung up on that. And let's get into the action. Mirage going to be the first map in this best of 3, followed by Nuke, and then Overpass. Opening things up though, Potts looking to try and make an aggressive stance in towards Connector as his teammates are starting to barrel out of the A ramp position, but JPBT is already doing enough of it with Hazalar, there we go, is there to assist as well. Tries to go in for the knife in the end as Edger, but in the end it's not going to be enough to stop it. Stop it to find the frag. So the intermediate bracket semi-final. I don't quite understand the full ramifications of an intermediate bracket, but hey-ho, we move. Already up towards middle. There is an Org doing big damage, and that's done bigger damage onto Sestar, who's been taken down. It's now just Kyle's job to try and run his way on in, but Stop It stops that in its tracks, leaving it up down to just J Slinger and Potts. 2 players that are remaining. Now just Potts. The MP9 has taken him down, and now he's fully been finished off by Hazalar, jumping over the top, reacquiring that Deagle, and getting a rather quick 2-0 start. So, TPO immediately getting the rifles in their hands. They're not wanting to wait around. It is wait not, want not. And already off to the races goes Edger as he finds the first frag of this game. J Slinger down in this round, but JPBT is immediately traded back. That's Kylst who's done that one to him instantaneously. That was an aggressive push inside the palace that went wrong, but that's going to be re-aggressed here by Hazalar. Was going to be. He instead thinks better of it. Goes to support his teammate Edger inside of middle. Now they just wait to see what these Ts end up doing. The bomb has been down in the back of the T spawn this entire time, and now they're looking to try and make a rotation over towards A, where Kyle has already managed to find that one opening frag onto JPBT, and now they look to try and answer things back. It is Sestar trying to push his way through middle. At the moment, that's not proving to be a particularly fruitful endeavour. He's found nobody as of the time being. There are going to be players soon nearby, though, that will infringe upon his progress. Whether that means that Edger is going to divert his attention away or not is a different story. He does so in the end, and that results in a frag for the ever-patient Sestar, as now TPO managed to get the bomb down in the middle of the A site. It will be up to the retake of Hazalar, Carter, and Stop It to try and reclaim what was once theirs. In from behind, Stop It manages to get a quick frag back on a Sestar, who tries to go for something a little bit overzealous. In the meantime, finds himself reaping the problems of that. Now, Hazalar comes back in with one. Now, Kyle thinking of a flashbang to try and enter back into the site. Flashbang goes in, and it's perfect for Ren. Now, in the end, it comes down to a 1 versus 1. Carter v Ren, and Ren's at the ramp ready and waiting. He's managed to nail that one down perfectly for TPO's first, and to get things off to a nice start. There is a bit of disparity between the money of the respective players on Electrify. So they decide to think better of it and go in with the Deagles, which actually end up working out for a 2 for 4. Potts in the end with 3k, leaving just Carter up top middle to try and get some work done. P2K ends up coming out. You'll have to forgive me, by the way, on the pronunciations of some players' names. If there is anything that I'm getting wrong, please let me know in chat, whether it's wrong or right or not. Some of these are new players to me, and obviously some players say things differently to how they're spelt. So I'll take this opportunity, if I do get anything wrong, please let me know, whether it be EJR rather than Edger, or C-Star or C3 Star rather than C-Star or what have. In the meantime, one thing I can't get wrong is Carter. He's not ladding it up this time around. He's going to get bested and taken down. 2-2. Should be a buyback here for Electrify. They will have everything they need. Of course, Carter going to have to skimp out again with this FAMAS. Orb is going to be purchased up here, though, so that is a good sign, of course, for Electrify. TPO, on the other hand, not opting to bring in an AWP to their arsenal just as of yet. Couldn't afford to, and now they're just going to continue with this raw aggression of the AKs and fly out in towards the B site. Stop it, and Carter have a decent crossfire. That's going to benefit themselves for 1. 2, looking for 3 frags, which it's done so perfectly. In comes Potts. He's going to try and get himself down with some more damage, but in the end, it doesn't end up working. And now we look round the corners for JPBT to try and land a knife, but as soon as his teammate comes visible, he knows that he has to keep him alive, so just executes in the back of the head. Electrify 3-2, very nice round for them. A really good crossfire on top of the B site there from Carter, and Stop It. Get things sorted very nicely. Now, what is the stance that the CTs take against what the Ts are throwing at them this time around? 2 AKs bought up in this one. Everybody else going to be on Deagles and armor. Looking to try and go for some aggressive stuff. These stances are doing quite well as Ren actually ends up taking down Edger to start things off. That's going to be a rather important first frag to be found. As now there's some re-aggression coming in from Hazalat. Everybody just waiting for the time being. Nobody wanting to do anything too aggressive right now. Potts, with the rest of his team, bunkering down in the back of the B apartments. Carter is going to be over here. He already spots one out, but takes damage in the process. Jumps to try and make it sound like he's fallen down. In the end, that will not be enough to sell the fake. They catch him on the crossback. Stop It isn't able to do anything inside the site either. In the end, it is going to be JPBT to try and answer things back. He grabs one, but then is susceptible to the player who's inside the apartments. Hazalar now going to be trying to come in to fix the ideas that they had in progress, but in the end, it does not work out. Like I say, if I do get anything wrong, by the way, I know we're only 6 rounds in. If I do get anything wrong with player names and calls, etc., please let me know. I'm not going to cast around where they're all called Jeff. That's a bit silly. But T3 Star or Cess Star or what have, just let me know. We'll start with it. Or Edger or EJR. Just let me know. If I get anything wrong, just throw it into the chat. I keep an eye on Twitch chat anyway. It's open for me, so we'll be all good for that. Hazalar, however, is all good for a frag inside the smoke. Looks for the second, but can't adjust quickly enough as Kyle is already out onto the site too. JPBT is going to be nailed on down. Carter and Stop It, all doing their business. And now it's just Carter spamming away with the P250 to try and win the round out. Wants that from us more than anything. Trying to transition over, looking for players who might be underneath or might be over at the A ramp. Spam coming through, that's one frag already opened up. Spots the second, recognises where it is now behind of the triple stack. Now looks to try and flip over to the left to see if there's a player coming in from jungle. Will adjust appropriately and can now try and flip it back onto Potts, who in the end clutches out the engagement rather comfortably and finds it to be 3-4 in favour of TPO. Now with the default weaponry. Already spotting out one. Going for a wide swing on this one, are we, boys? Are we fancying it? Yes, we are. EJR gets away with that one right away. First frag found, inaugurated with the AK. Hazalar is dropped. That's by Potts on the retreat. Meanwhile, everybody wants to try and make their way in towards the B site. Their start. Already down here, looking to try and take fights on the short position. Tapped away by the pistols. Now JPBT and EJR try and push their way into the site. The AK of which is already gone. The second of which, the P250, is not able to finish the bomb planter at the first time of asking and doesn't get a second chance. Ren ends up taking him down, leaving it to TPO's 5-3 start. C3 star, thank you so much, JTM. Appreciate that. They're all the questions I had. But the question that still remains unanswered is whether it's Edger or EJR. Nonetheless, man's still popping off, man's still firing, as he finds a shot up top middle on top of C3 star. Now, where is this assault going into? Seemingly the A site. Hazalar, ready and waiting, trying to take this one down, holding back in towards the CT spawn. Already a player towards Firebox. Now going to have to take an open swing on that one and wins it. Carter wins his duel on the other side of the A site, leaving just Potts once again. This time 1 versus 4 rather than 1 versus 1. And I feel like this might be a feat that is a little more difficult to try and work with. Let's not put it past the man though. Potts looking for a slide out, gets tagged through the box by the AWP. Bouncing down the corner, 3 players stacked up here. He could have cleaned up all 3 with a rather fortunate spray, but in the end it is going to be JPBT to finish him off with the AUG, who will upgrade to the AK-47, putting Electrify back on 4, and meaning that the economy of TPO may start to suffer a little bit. They are going to have to take a back foot on this one, going for the Desert Eagles and armor, where it is affordable. You can see some players like Kyle and Ren don't particularly want to go for that one, and not to be confused with Kylo Ren on that particular front. But anyway, Edger gets away with 1. Now looking for a second and a third, but immediately gets deagled back on off. JPBT looking for more continuations through the smoke and flames. Ends up getting some assistance from Carter and Hazalar, and that should be this B site pretty much under lock and key. No way that the bomb can do anything with it unless Jay Slinger can 2K his way out of the site. Still with a deagle in hand, yet to be able to recover any of the dropped weaponry from either of the 2 CTs that were inside of B. That's not going to be the primary concern for him, no. He's more concerned about trying to take these fights and will very soon have an engagement to take. Nice angle here though from Hazalar. Trying to keep himself out of view. Does the 4x3 come into play? Yes it does. Doesn't spot the gun barrel on the right hand side of his screen. And as a result of that, Hazalar is able to clean up the round and the frag and an AWP to go with it. So Electrify leveled the scoreboard at 5-5, and now TPO, they look to get feisty. AK's back out. No longer are we on this petty eco territory. They're going to be firing on all cylinders, all the utility they could want. Flashbangs, nades, smokes and molotovs all going over. Immediately, EJR takes a fight in towards the connector and backs away. Doesn't want any more to do with that. It's his duty to defend the mid position, but needs to make sure he's doing it in a way that keeps him alive. Now, JPBT, keeping his eyes peeled for whatever might come his way. For the time being, that's not a great deal. in towards B seems to be the main body of the assault. No split coming through this time. It's Carter, Stop It, and Edge are all finding frags, and that is the crossfire that's been so potent so far this game. Carter plays beneath the window or in a position where he can catch the drop. Stop It plays somewhere back or in towards the site, and just like that, it should all fall apart. Stop It in the end is the one to collect the frag, and Electrify managed to pull themselves out of a steaming pit into a steaming peak. They're now up 6-5, once again knocking the economy of TPO back. A full investment that goes completely by the wayside. 3 players remain alive for Electrify, so that only strengthens their position. It has been 3 consecutive rounds for them though, but with so much reinvestment being forced out of those 3 rounds, even by ecos, we're finding ourselves in positions where still Electrify don't have that much residual cash, and already they've lost the first blood and have failed to trade it. Some poor misses going in the mid with the AWP and the A1S, and now the A site. It's like Olympus because it's fallen. Taking some more shots. Edger is so desperate to find the impact. He's now done so. Found a 3k. Looking to try and make it 4. Tags the one through the wall, leaving just Pots alive. 1 versus 3. So, after having numerous attempts and many bites at the cherry, EJR does finally bring the round back into contention for his team after losing that first frag. Now Carter finishes it off. Pots can't really stand much of a chance in that one. As Electrify get up to 7, but again, their economy still isn't swelling in the way that you'd want it to. Stop It is the only player really starting to grind up any residual cash. Everybody else is still having to do fairly hefty reinvestments into this one. TPO, on the other side of things, though, will now be trying to throw themselves back into the mixer. Edger grabs one, gets away just about with his life, but can't go too far away from this one without risking exposing himself. Hazalar's there to try and trade things off, but he is stuck between so many flames right now, and all he's doing is just fanning them. He's trapped up against the wall, and now JPBT has to go big. He has to try and clutch things up. He's caught in a corner. He's found one already, but needs to try and make this one last. Needs to try and make this one go longer, as Potts is up top on the balcony. Finally catches the player in transition, but in comes Carter, and in comes Stop It. They've found one. Now just need to find Rent, who's tucked himself into the bomb site, trying to make sure that he's not accessible from behind. That's going to be the key position. They spot one already, and that's going to be enough for the trade frag, as Carter just about comes out on top of that engagement. It was oh so very close for a minute, and like I'm saying, that residual cash failing to build up can now start to sting Electrify. You see, there's not going to be the wealth that they would have originally anticipated, and they're going to have to try and find a way to appropriately redistribute it. EJR has to get dropped an AWP, drops out an M4 to his teammate, and has no armor, really. Well, no head armor, sorry. And no utility to go with that. Utility is certainly being skimped out on by preference of firepower. And a double Molotov with no sign of a rush over towards B is not going to be the exact kind of start that I would have suggested you'd be looking for when you're already low on utility. Beautiful shot coming in from Slinger, but in the end it's Carter to trade things back. Still shouldn't be hemorrhaging silly little shots like that away. It's already taken one player out the round, and that's one player that you can definitely do with when this hit comes in. In fact, it's already coming in. You guys need to turn around. Thankfully, Stop It is there. If I could find the right player cam in the right time, that would be perfect. But even still, a beautiful shot from Stop It to follow, and he flicks right back onto the final player of Potts over on the A site, leaving just Kyle to rotate into the more than capable hands of Hazalar as we go 9-5. Final round of the half then. Can it be a 10-5 CT side here from Electrify on what has been Feels like a very quick half, to be honest. Haven't really been live for that long with this match, and we're already flying through 15 rounds. There's been a pretty hefty pace kept up by these two teams. And JPBT immediately taking some very feisty engagements, taking that first frag, and his teammates taking the second and third, leaving Ren and Potts, seemingly the last two players alive in almost every situation, to now try and fight this one out by themselves. JPBT might have had his feet spotted here by Ren. Might not want to re-engage on this one. Ren trying to spam back up to try and make JPBT think he can go for a peek here. Swings it wide. Two players staring right at him. Stop it with the AWP. Feels himself now more than ever. Looks up towards the top of middle. His teammate with the primary AWP is taken down, but the secondary one is soon there to ring out across the land. A really well-constructed half there from the Electrify group. That is a nice little CT side that they've just put together. Lots of continuation, even with the fact that they did not have that bolstered, swelling and growing economy that they were really looking to try and build. It was scrappy, but they did manage to clutch out all of the rounds what they needed to. And that's the important part. Now TPO, what have you got to show us? Well, C3 star, seemingly not a lot. Currently sitting at 3 and 15. It's a 15 and 11 start for Potts, though, which would actually put him pretty decently in the midst of the Electrify roster. So a pretty good showing from Potts for the time being, and Ren not too far behind that either, as he's up to 14. So what are the T's going to do on their inaugural round of this half? Well, it looks to be, for the time being, they're going to try and steamroll their way in towards this B site. Smoke's going out towards middle for the time being. I think that one's being lined up for, but for what they're looking at is really just a straight hit in towards B. Smoke's more than anything just to sell the ruse. Immediately, JPBT taking fights over towards the connector. That's all just a distraction. Now those smokes are going in. Now those flashbangs are soon to follow. There's going to be some CT players here that are desperately looking to try and find some frags. Kyle is not going to be one of those players, though. C3 star, on the other hand, may well be, as there's other players like Potts dancing around pillars looking for Hazalar. And in the end, it is C3 star getting himself a 4K off the back of that round, over doubling what he had in kills in the entirety of the first half. A lovely start for Team Penguin Overlords, and that's exactly what they would be looking for moving into this second half on their CT side. They want to replicate everything that has gone before it and Electrify. They do too. Stop it. Throwing his way in there, picking up an M4, but it's at the expense of his teammate. Lots of damage being done to either of these two players now, and thinking about swapping the weaponry around due to how much damage had been inflicted, but in the end they now think better of it as Hazalar falls regardless of the outcome. Looking for a head, but doesn't recognise that he's got barely any ammunition in the clip there. APBT. Spots one player moving in towards the jungle, but is not ready for the player who's towards his right. Now Carter taking a number of prolonged engaged shots with that deagle, and a nade lands right on top of his head. Stop it really here. The only player in a position to do much. Carter will need to find a pretty juicy shot. For the time being, I don't think that's really going to be too accessible. There's Jay Slinger and Potts both ring themselves in to find the second round of their second half. So, it is looking to be the raid boss purchase here. Whether I agree with this or not, different story. I don't particularly. I don't like the idea of having a disparaged economy like Electrify are currently high-rolling with. JPBT going to be the sole player with the AK. Meanwhile, the rest of his team try an audacious strategy up towards middle. Going to try and boost themselves in towards the jungle room, and already that has gone very far awry. Stop it. Now going to try and trade things back, which he does so successfully to his credit. That's not without its detractors. Players starting to look a little bit feisty for this one. That might be the end of Stop It, that particular role. It's now Carter looking to try and make amends for his teammates' shortcomings thus far. There's 4 MP9s attempt to try and stare him and his team down. That one AK has been very quickly dispatched with. We've seen that just now as Ren manages to slide his way on out. Now Jay Slinger on the A site, having a relatively easy time of things considering as there's really nothing preventing him from finding success. And TPO get themselves 3 rounds on the trot. Electrify are looking a little bit worse for wear here in this second half. Lots of utility now raining in towards middle. This is in an effort to make sure that mid control is absolutely theirs. Electrify understanding the crux of this map, really. Mid control is the aim of the game. Kyle has found Stop It, though, over at the A ramp. That has, however, let him down to just 20 points of health. There was an AK there for Kyle to retreat to as well. Seemingly wants to continue to aggress. Carter is going to be back here. Does he have an inclination that Kyle is aggressing? Yes, he does. He checks it, he grabs it, and now gives them an opportunity to level this down at a 4 versus 4. So Electrify, trying to get a stranglehold on one of these 2 sites. They're just not sure which one they want to opt for right now. With Hazalar in this position he's in right now, I would presume that Electrify want to try and move towards A. We'll have Jay Slinger and C3 Star over here, though. This will be an AWP on top of Ticket Booth. That flashbang will do nothing to detract his vision from the ramp. And as a result, that brings it back into TPO's favour. Penguin Overlords are looking to try and do what they can, but Hazalar in himself is doing just that, but better. He's found another frag, brought it down to a 3-on-3, and the bomb can get planted here. Instead, holds its nerve. Waiting for the peak to come on in. The bomb does not get planted in time. Edger was not ready and waiting for it. Now needs to go in for a plant of his own. There is going to be the flank coming in, though, from Hazalar, and it will just be enough. With the time ticking down to grab the round that Electrify was so desperately looking for. The first of this second half for them. Finally putting an end to TPO's winning ways. And Electrify... They look very strong now. Got a decent economy. They've managed to salvage over an AWP. And this should be the beginning of something rather beautiful for them. Carter. He's looking to be aggressive in towards the B tunnels, whilst his teammates are looking to be aggressive in towards middle. In case you hadn't guessed it by now, after all these years, Mirage mid, that's the way to play the map. Unfortunately, it's kind of gone against Electrify here. 2 frags go against them. One of those is over at B. And if they're not careful, it's going to result in the bomb being spotted. And more precarious than that, Edger with the AWP being taken down too. That was Potts who was up there. He didn't want to go any further. Had he have gone further, he probably would have found a great deal more success. Bomb now rotates its way back in towards the A site though. And Stop It is the player here who I would be most concerned about if I'm Team Penguin Overlords. You've lost track of the majority of the players on this map right now. The big engagement is about to come in Palace with Kyle. Because I believe that JPVT might be feeling like you might want to engage on Palace. In the end, it is just going to be a straight hit from ramp. Stop It inside of the connector. We'll be able to attack any people who try and get too aggressive from their resting positions. Into the jungle he tries to lurk. Still, yet to be a problem is this Palace position. Already Ren comes in with 1 frag of his own, but this is the key player. Kyle up here. As soon as he drops, they will know exactly where he is, but Stop It once again saves the day. Still 3 players to fend off against though, and I think this one may be too tall of an order. He can't go back to throw a Molotov on top of that bomb. There's probably a smoke already on it. The molly does nothing, my friend. It means nothing. You've been tapped on down. You have been decimated out. And TPO get themselves a 9th, immediately putting a stop to Electrify gaining momentum. And so far, grounding the current that was coming from that T side. So what to do in this round for Electrify? Well, you've got 5 rifles strong. What are you going to do with it? The aim, of course, is to strike blue, but right now you're striking yellow. It's the best you can hope for. You've got to try and get the bomb in towards that site. It's going well, but C3 Star is looking to try and make amends for his slow start to this game. It's now going to be Jay Slinger to come in too, but still, prolonged and laboured engagements not helping anybody out here at all. The bomb is now stricken in the middle of the site. Now JPBT has to be very careful with how he wants to try and approach this. Ren Bobertson thinking that he needs to go over towards the B site instead. Maybe trying to make a long play for a big old rotation here to catch out JPBT in the middle of this. Smoke goes down. Ren doesn't want to give up his position that easily, and JPBT wants to try and slink his way back towards ramp with the AWP here. Done so. Whether Ren has heard that or not, I'm not totally sure. He has, then it's massive information. Now JPBT is making a really long, wide play. That smoke with the AWP is just going to be devastating, because as soon as he hops onto that, if he's in the middle of it, it's going to be very hard for him to figure it out. But if he'd have stuck it, he'd have won. It's the doubt in his mind that plays so hard. And in the end, he goes for the AWP shot and manages to make it work. JPBT, I don't know. I don't want to say he big-brained that, or whether Ren just out-psyched himself, out-thought himself. Pros don't fake, so maybe Ren isn't quite in that pro band just yet. Out towards middle we go once again. C3 Star feeling comfortable with his AWP now as he goes to 14 frags. Immediately traded out though. No real threat coming in too quickly, as now we're on P250s and Deagles. However, Kyle has managed to make himself pretty useful here. Got himself into a good position, however has already been spotted. So now that position is going to have to be relinquished as he tries to fall back to a more safe angle. He can try and make some havoc. Stop it. Looking to try and frag onto the MP9 of Potts. Does so and swiftly gets away. Nice movement up into the window to now try and relocate on towards the B site. However, that doesn't stop Jay Slinger from peeking out the connector to find him. And that single bit of movement in itself might have given the game away here. Ren drops the Molotov, which PJR wants to try and run through. Does so really, really nicely. And in the end, Ren is the one to clean up even nicer. There's JPBT and he now have a little bit of a dance in and around the site with Carter, trying to play them out to 2. That's one frag found, but then immediately traded back. Carter in a 1-on-2 now, trying to fight a war on 2 fronts. He's got players to his left and players to his right. Whichever way he turns, he's going to have to take a fight. And I'm afraid it's going to be good night in this instance for Carter, as he's grounded. And Electrify go 12-10. That gap that they had as a result of their first half victory is still starting to close. pistols is all they have to work with. Oh my god, that shot pinged C3 Star down to 33. Damn. Pistols is all they have to work with here for Electrify, but I will concede that TPO's buy is not particularly mind-bending either. It now looks to be that they want to try and take control of a particular area of the map without gooshing your teammates would probably be a good start for that. And I fear here might be a little bit too easy for Ren to clean up the remainder of the frags, with C3 Star doing the same from the other end of things. But 1 versus 3 for JPBT. I'm afraid he'll be feeling Ren Robertson once again. 23rd frag of the game for him, overtaking his former leader in pots. JPBT opens things up with J Slinger in return. So a 4-on-4 as the T's try and crack open what looks to be here a pori towards the A site. Hazalar sits in wait with Edger or EJR out in middle with him. 12 to 11. A very important junction in the game here. We're at a crossroads. Still, of course, plenty of time to play within this one, but behind the default plant box is where Kyle is going to be trying to wait. He's managed to grab one, unchecked and uncaged. It's going to be 2 kills for Kyle as he gets himself a nice little delaying tactic in the midst of the site. Now, Ren and Potts, the 2 players you'd want alive, are going to be trying to make their way into this retake. Unfortunately for them, JPBT and EJR think better of the A site and are going to quickly try and run this one over towards B by the looks of things. They could have ran it up through the underpass, but they're just trying to take their time and hit up through short. Now, Ren and Potts here are not going to make this one easy. Need to try and read this situation as best as they can. JPBT and EJR don't necessarily know where everybody is. They don't have any information on Ren Robertson and Potts. Very soon, Ren and Potts will have a lot of information on where the T's are. As the bomb goes down, they head in towards the B site. EJR try and get an aggressive angle on this one though. He's ready to swing as soon as he hears even the slightest step. Unfortunately, he missteps in his own right there, but that's the information that there's 2. And now JPBT, he hears steps all around him. Where are they going to be coming from? That's 1, that's 2. They line up perfectly for him and Electrify grasp 13. It's unlucky for some, but not JPBT. Fortuitous spray brings 13 to the scorecard. And Electrify are well and truly back in business. Only 3 rounds this half, but they only need 3 more until victory. Meanwhile, the buy here of TPO is looking a little bit shoddy. It's melting away like the ice caps that they live on. Galil going to try and inflict some damage, but I'm afraid the fire did not fall off that far, and Potts is ready to take trades. He's ready to take fights, and he's ready to take names. He's done so. Carter lad down. Now JPBT, EJR, Hazalar and Stop It need to try and rendezvous together. For the time being, JPBT is trying to make amends on the site. Doesn't spot the player right in front of him though. Instead gets his head ripped clean off. And around like this, where you feel like you have all the advantages and it just falls away in the way that it has, not good here for Electrify. The game predicts a 20% chance they'll win this round. I predict possibly even less. As Edger needs to anticipate C3 start, does so in the end, but it costs Stop It his life. Somehow this does fall into a 2-on-2, and it's going to need to be a very big engagement as Edger nearly grasps it, but thankfully Hazalar's there to bail him out. Now it's all onto Potts. The player who opened the round has to be the player to finish it. That superior weaponry does end up coming back in troves. 90% win rate now for Electrify. How the tables have turned. Pots needs to pepper them up. But may have just been heard and may have just been caught. Hazelar lands it. 14 for Electrify. TPO only still on 11. And now their money is well and truly in the bin. Do they force Spy to deny map point, or do they eco to try and prevent, or to try and work towards overtime? What's the play? And your Penguin Overlords are looking like they want to try an eco. Playing towards overtime here. And they're not even going to think about stacking either. It looks like Electrify are bringing out Old Faithful. Rush B. Do not stop. Hazelar is not even going to worry about the player who's right beneath him. He's going to leave that to the sacrilege of his teammates as he now progresses on through to find another frag. And will continue his aggression soon here onto Kyle, who lies in wait outside the murder hole. Never a preferential ankle. You always feel like you probably could lose the engagement here, even though it feels like it should be a surefire win. Trying to bait him out. Kyle goes for a swing across. Does so again and actually ends up finding tap this time, but JPBT on the flank, on the entrapment. The Ferrari peak comes out. The C3 start tries to save away with the Galil. Does so. I think he gets Cartelad out of that and then shall survive. No way anyone can grab him out of this one, I don't think. No time left in the round. And now, what do we got? We got Electrify on match point, looking to try and take some very early and strong fights. They're doing so. It's a 2-for-1 trade inside the A site. The A site is now theirs. They can look to get control of CT spawn as well. Ren and Potts won't be able to move their way on in too quickly. J-Slinger already being tagged on down by an HE grenade that flies in towards his head as well. A Molotov for good measure to dislodge him further from his comfort, as he and Potts stand shoulder to shoulder with Ren there too. Looking to try and hold this one down. Electrify had a shockingly good half here. In the end, all good things must come to an end. And this time, it's Electrify's victory to take. Mirage, they're not their map pick, mind you, goes their way. 16-11. A very, very good performance from them. You can take a look at the scoreboard at the end of it as well.